I, 28-year-old female, was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. It was thankfully found in the early stages, and I was told that with surgery and chemo, I should be okay. One of the things I was told to avoid was alcohol since I would begin treatment, and various drugs obviously don't mix well. Due to the timing of my diagnosis and it being the holidays, my husband and I haven't told my family about this yet. We're waiting until I start chemo to tell everyone. Anyway, my younger sister is pregnant and she had the gender reveal last weekend. Despite me thinking it's irresponsible to have any sort of alcohol around a pregnant woman, it was being served at the party. My sister and I, along with a few elderly family members, were the only ones not drinking. I guess one of my sister's friends caught on to this and told her because the next thing I know, she's coming up to me asking if I was pregnant. Thankfully, no one really heard her since she was trying to be quiet. I told her I wasn't. She knows I'm child-free and don't plan on having children. She asked me again if I was pregnant, and once again I said no. She told me that if I wasn't pregnant, then to drink a beer in front of her and prove it. I don't owe her anything and told her as much. She began yelling at me that I was ruining her gender reveal by showing up pregnant and stealing the moment from her. At this point, people started to look at us. She kept yelling at me until her husband came and asked me if I was pregnant, trying to calm my sister. By this point, I was just annoyed and yelled out that I have cancer, and that's why I'm not drinking. Well, the mood went sour after that, and a lot of people at the party started to give my sister looks, while her husband apologized to me. My husband and I left soon after since it was awkward, and people were giving me their condolences and that pitying look people get when they know you have a serious illness. The day after, my mother called me, telling me I should have just drank at the party because I ruined my sister's gender reveal, and now everyone is worried about me and mad at my sister for pushing me to drink. I told my mother it was my sister's fault for pushing her crazy ideas, and she knows I don't plan on having kids ever. Most of our family and friends are on my side, but a few older relatives and my sister's friends have been saying that I did this on purpose for attention and that I have cancer, so I could have just drank a beer and been done with it since I wasn't pregnant. I'm just so incredibly pissed off right now, and so is my husband. We're even considering avoiding the family Christmas party next week because everyone now knows, and I don't want to be pitied and have my sister and mom glaring at me over something that isn't my fault. I honestly don't feel like I did anything wrong, but did I? Should I have just disregarded it and had one drink to satisfy them? No one would know I had cancer if I did. I'm just so tired. Edit. Cancer runs in my family. It's one of the reasons I'm child-free. So does alcoholism. My mother's an alcoholic. My grandmother, some of my aunts and uncles also drink excessively, and my sister is getting there. I think this pregnancy is the longest she's been without a drink. Edit 2. In my family, the only valid excuse not to drink at a gathering is being underage or a pregnancy, especially in my mother's eyes. She still hasn't forgiven me for my lack of drinking and not giving her grandchildren. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Even if you weren't drinking due to being pregnant, your sister and mother are being ridiculous. So your sister's irrational feelings are more important than your health. Their priorities are way out of whack. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Skip Christmas with a clear conscience. You need positive vibes and good people in your life right now, not toxic amounts of negativity. All the best for your health in the new year. Now, for the update, thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a week since the gender reveal fiasco, and let me tell you, it's been a ride. After the reveal, my husband and I decided to lay low for a few days. We needed space to process everything, especially with my upcoming treatment. But family has a way of not letting things go, and my phone was blowing up with messages and calls. My sister eventually reached out. She was apologetic, said she got caught up in the moment and didn't realize the gravity of my situation. I wanted to be mad, to hold on to that anger, but looking at her tear-streaked face on a video call, I just couldn't. She's my sister, and despite everything, I love her. We talked it out, and she promised to support me through my treatment. It was a relief, but it didn't fix everything. The family Christmas party was looming over us, and my husband and I were torn about going. We knew it would be uncomfortable, but we also didn't want to isolate ourselves. In the end, we decided to attend, if only for a short while. Walking into that party was one of the hardest things I've done. The air was thick with unspoken words and pitying glances. My mother, still upset with me, barely acknowledged my presence. It stung, but I was getting used to her disappointment. But then, something unexpected happened. My uncle, who I've always been close with, pulled me aside. He shared his own battle with illness and how he understood the weight of carrying such news. We talked for what felt like hours, and his words were a balm to my frayed nerves. It was a connection I didn't realize I needed. As the evening wore on, the tension eased. Relatives approached me, not with pity, but with genuine concern and offers of help. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. I realized that despite the initial drama, my family did care. They just needed time to process the news, just like I did. My husband was my rock through it all. He held my hand, gave me strength when I had none, and reminded me that we were in this together. His unwavering support made the night bearable. But the night wasn't without its low points. My sister's friends, the ones who had accused me of seeking attention, kept their distance. Their cold stares were a reminder that not everyone was on my side. It hurt, but I was learning to focus on the support I did have rather than the negativity. The party ended, and we went home feeling a mix of emotions. It was a relief to leave, but I also felt a sense of closure. The secret was out, the initial shock had worn off, and life was moving forward. The following days were a mix of doctor's appointments and quiet moments at home. My sister visited often, helping out where she could. It was strange, this new dynamic between us. We were closer now, bonded by my illness and her impending motherhood. We had our moments of tension, sure, but there was an underlying current of love that hadn't been there before. As for my mother, our relationship remained strained. She called occasionally, her words laced with regret and frustration. I knew she was struggling with her own demons, and I hoped that in time we could find a way to bridge the gap between us. Now, as I sit here, reflecting on the past week, I realize that life is full of unexpected twists. My diagnosis, the reveal, the family drama, it all led to a bittersweet resolution. I've lost some things, like the ease of family gatherings and the comfort of ignorance, but I've gained others. I've found strength in myself, a deeper bond with my sister, and a family that, despite its flaws, is trying to be there for me. I'm about to start chemo, and I'm scared, but I'm not alone. I have my husband, my sister, and a family that's slowly learning to show their love in different ways. It's not perfect, but it's real, and right now, that's enough. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. I went through something similar when I was diagnosed with lymphoma. I didn't want to drink at a family gathering, and my cousin wouldn't let up, thinking I was just being a party pooper. It's tough, but you have to put your health first, and it's nobody's business why you're not drinking. Your family should have had your back instead of making assumptions. Comment 2. Hey, I'm really sorry you're going through this. It's absolutely your right to decide when and how to share your health news. No one should ever feel pressured to drink, especially not for such a personal reason. Stick to your guns and take care of yourself. Your health and comfort are what matter most right now. Now, for the next story. My best friend, Lena, and her partner, Paul, are hosting a special game night. They invited my husband, Frank, but not me. My husband told me earlier in the week about this event, and I was hurt that I wasn't invited. I decided to text Lena midweek and ask about their plans. I thought maybe it was a boys' night thing, and we could spend the night doing something else. She said she was in the game but didn't provide any additional information or acknowledge that they were excluding me. I was really hurt and didn't know what to say. I found the words this morning and said, I wasn't invited to the last game night and today's either. I feel overwhelmingly hurt by that. I feel excluded. She said Paul chose specific people for this game and sorry if not being invited hurt you, which is not a real apology. I admit game night is not my favorite thing, but I could have hung out anyways and made everyone drinks or played with their cat or observed the game. But at this point, it's not even about wanting to go. It's about the lack of communication and regard for my feelings. I asked Lena if she gave any thought about whether I would wonder why I'm being excluded and feel hurt. I'm waiting for an answer. My husband understands why I'm upset. He also doesn't want to get involved. He offered to cancel. I told him I personally wouldn't spend time with anyone who hurt him, but I wouldn't ask him to miss a night with friends. I've been trying to encourage him to put himself out there. I won't blame him for going. But this whole time, I've been questioning myself. Am I wrong? Am I making this a bigger deal than it is? Am I being toxic? Am I the idiot? Edit. Yes, it's some kind of D&D. Limited spots. I understand that maybe they wouldn't want an extra person hanging around, but my issue is they didn't communicate or consider that I would find out and feel excluded. Update. My husband came home, and we talked. It seems the game was not that serious. The TV was on in the background, everyone was chatting and distracted, and some didn't show. He apologized for going, and we talked about how I could have been clearer in my preference of him going or not. He said next time he would decline something if I wasn't invited in this same way. I will update once I hear from Lena. To all of you D&D players, I understand that you're extremely passionate about the game, and you don't want distractions. That is reasonable. However, you all miss the point and lack empathy in general. If Lena had said, "Hey, we're doing D&D, I know it's not your thing, and it's kind of a niche game, so we're just inviting Frank. I'll see you soon," I would have been satisfied. You guys need to take a step back and understand that not everyone is born ready with a pop-up board and full understanding of the world and their characters. Jeez. Update. 2. I spoke with Lena, and she didn't understand why I would want to come. They thought I wouldn't enjoy D&D. She explained more about it, and it sounds like it's actually up my alley. So I will be speaking with Paul to learn more. We couldn't really get on the same page as far as the lack of communication. She said it wouldn't make sense for them to consider me. We talked for a while, and it was clear we wouldn't fully understand each other. We left on a neutral note, not exactly a cathartic ending. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Why do you want to go to a game night if you don't like games? Everyone getting together for a specific activity, and one person just hanging out there not involved, is awkward as heck. Everyone either ignores you, which feels rude, or they engage you, which distracts from playing the game, which is the entire point of getting together for the evening. Comment 2. You do make mention here that you do not enjoy game nights at all. Given your friends likely know this, why would they intentionally invite someone who they already know doesn't enjoy it? This is like inviting a person to a horror flick that you know hates horror flicks. Just doesn't make sense. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I know it was a bit of a downer, but I've got some news to share. So after the game night, things were pretty tense between me and Lena. I was still feeling pretty hurt, and I guess I was waiting for some kind of grand gesture or heartfelt apology that would magically make everything okay again. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. But life has a funny way of working things out when you least expect it. A few days after my last update, Lena reached out and invited me over for coffee. I was hesitant, but I figured it was a step in the right direction, so I went. We sat down, and it was awkward at first, not gonna lie. We danced around the topic, talking about everything but the elephant in the room. Eventually, though, we got to it. Lena apologized for not being more considerate of my feelings. She explained that she and Paul had been so wrapped up in planning the game night that they didn't stop to think about how their actions might affect me. I told her how much it meant to me that she reached out and that I appreciated her apology. We talked about how important communication is in any relationship, and we both agreed to be more upfront with each other in the future. As for Frank, he's been amazing through all of this. He's been my rock, listening to me vent and offering his support. He even suggested we host our own game night, just the two of us, which was really sweet. We ended up playing some silly board games and had a blast. It was nice to just laugh and be goofy together. But the real surprise came a few days later. Paul dropped by our place, which was unexpected. He came to apologize personally for not including me and to invite me to the next game night. He admitted that he had been short-sighted and that he valued my friendship. I was taken aback by his gesture. It was clear that he and Lena had talked, and they both wanted to make things right. I accepted his apology and the invitation, and we even spent some time discussing the game and how it's played. Turns out, it's pretty interesting, and I'm actually looking forward to giving it a try. The next game night was a completely different experience. I was a bit nervous at first, but everyone was welcoming, and I actually got into the game. Who knew I had a knack for role-playing? Frank was beaming with pride seeing me dive into the game, and I felt like I was part of the group. After the game, Lena pulled me aside. She thanked me for coming and said she was glad to see me having fun. We hugged it out, and it felt like we had finally turned a page. It was a simple moment, but it meant the world to me. In the end, this whole situation taught me a lot about friendship and communication. It's easy to assume the worst when you're feeling left out, but sometimes people just make mistakes. What's important is how you move forward and work through those issues together. Frank and I are closer than ever, and my friendship with Lena and Paul is on the mend. It's not perfect, but it's real, and that's what counts. I'm grateful for the lessons learned and the chance to grow from this experience. So, yeah, that's my update. It's been a bit of a ride, but I'm happy to say that things are looking up. Thanks for listening, and here's to better days ahead. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, just wondering, did Lena ever explain why you were initially left out? It's tough feeling excluded, but I'm glad to hear she's making an effort now. Maybe you could suggest regular catch-ups to avoid this in the future. Keep nurturing that friendship. Comment 2. I totally get why you'd feel hurt, but it's awesome that Lena and Paul are trying to make amends. It's a good sign they value your friendship. And props to Frank for being a rock. Hosting your own game night sounds like a great way to move forward. Cheers to better times ahead. Now, for the next story. It's really complicated, but my sister went to prison in February of this year for ending the life of her husband. They had 3 teenage children together, and my sister begged me to take her children in together. They had a meeting with a social worker who said if I didn't take them, they would be split up and sent to different group homes or foster homes. Probably group homes, though. The kids wanted to stay together and live with me, so here they are. I'll be honest, myself and my husband did not want them at all. Kids are expensive and a lot of work, and my sister and her husband didn't do the best job at raising their kids, so they aren't very well behaved. I get a small stipend for being their foster parent, but it barely covers their food. They all eat like they're starving. It doesn't cover clothes, Christmas presents, etc. Over the summer, I encouraged the kids to find jobs so they can pay for their school clothes in the fall, because I'd be giving them $50 each to take to Walmart and pick out a few clothing articles with. They were pissed because my son won't have to work for his school clothes. I explained that taking them on wasn't exactly something I planned for, and if they aren't okay with working for their clothes and things, they can try living somewhere else and see if things are better. Maybe at the group home, they'll give them hundreds of dollars to take to the mall like they want. Probably not, but what do I know? The kids all wanted to play sports this school year, and I encouraged them to do so. Their school has fundraising for kids who can't afford to pay the fees, selling chocolate bars. I encouraged them to do that, and offered to drive them to different neighborhoods so they can sell them. The kids were mad because I expected them to do fundraising when my son doesn't have to. My son does work but puts all of his money from his job in his college fund. They're also mad because he has a college fund and they don't. I explained to them that it's only natural that I would treat my son differently than I would my nieces and nephews, and that I took them in at their and their mother's request, not because I wanted 3 more children of my own. They're really mad at my honesty, but I'm not going to dance around the subject with them. I have no problem treating them the way any aunt treats their nieces and nephews. I get them a gift on their birthday and Christmas, and I'll feed them while they're here. But I'm not their mom. I feel like it's not fair for them to be so angry at me when I didn't cause this circumstance, and I'm already doing way more than I'm obligated to do. Am I the idiot? Edit. A lot of people are telling me I'd be better off letting them go into foster care if the kids aren't happy with me. Upon discussing things with my husband, we've contacted the kids' social worker, and she will be finding placements for them and picking them up tomorrow. Hopefully, someone else can do a better job than I have. I only decided to have 1 child, and I think having 4 in the home, 3 of them being very difficult children, has been too much. My sister won't be happy, but maybe she shouldn't have poisoned her husband. Thanks for your advice, Reddit. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. You agreed to be their foster parent. These kids have been through a lot of trauma and you're showing them they're not loved. This will grow into these kids resenting yours and likely cause more mental issues. I get that kids are expensive, but you agreed to support them as a mom, so do that. Comment 2. This reminds me of the Dursleys taking in Harry Potter. Now, for the update. So, it's been a week since the kids' social worker came to pick them up. Honestly, I thought I'd feel relieved, but the house has been eerily quiet. My husband seems to be handling it better than I am, but I can tell he's also affected by their absence. My son, on the other hand, has been more vocal about missing his cousins. He's been quieter, spending more time in his room, and I can tell he's thinking about them. The day after they left, the oldest called me. She was crying, saying the new place wasn't like our home and that the other kids there were mean. She asked if they could come back. I didn't know what to say. I told her I'd think about it and talk to my husband. That night, my husband and I had a long discussion. We both admitted that we missed them, but we were also scared of going back to the way things were. We decided to sleep on it. The next day, I got a call from the middle child. He sounded so defeated, telling me he got into a fight at the group home. He said he just wanted to play basketball and couldn't understand why everything had to be so hard. I felt a pang in my heart. I remembered the look on his face when he made his first basket during a game at our local park. I told him I was proud of him for standing up for himself, but reminded him that fighting wasn't the answer. By the end of the week, the youngest had also called. She was the most adaptable, always the one to make friends easily, but even she sounded off. She said she missed my cooking and how I'd tuck them in at night. It was a routine I started to make them feel more at home, and I guess it meant more to her than I realized. I've been doing a lot of thinking. Maybe I was too harsh with them. They've been through a lot, and I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to have your mom in prison and your dad gone. I've been talking to my husband about maybe giving it another shot, setting some ground rules, and trying to be more understanding. He's hesitant, but he's considering it. My son overheard us talking and said he'd help out more if it meant having his cousins back. He's been saving up from his job and offered to chip in for some of their expenses. It was a mature gesture that took me by surprise. Maybe we didn't do such a bad job raising him after all. I called the social worker today. She said the kids have been asking about us non-stop and that it's clear they consider our place their home. She also mentioned that it's rare for kids to want to go back to a foster home after they've been moved. It made me realize that maybe we weren't as bad at this as I thought. So we've got a meeting set up with the social worker and the kids next week. We're going to talk about what it would look like if they came back. I'm nervous, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. I want to set boundaries and make sure they understand that things will be different. But I also want them to feel loved and supported. I guess I'm learning that family isn't just about blood or obligation. It's about the bonds you build and the effort you put in. I'm not sure what the future holds for us, but I'm willing to try. For their sake and for ours. As for my sister, I haven't heard from her since the kids left. I'm not sure how she's going to react if they come back to live with us, but right now, I'm more focused on the kids and what's best for them. It's going to be a tough road ahead, but maybe, just maybe, we can make it work. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, it sounds like you've been through an emotional roller coaster. Taking in 3 teens unexpectedly is a huge adjustment, and it's understandable to feel overwhelmed. It's admirable that you're considering giving it another shot. Remember, it's okay to set financial boundaries, but try to ensure all the kids feel equally cared for. You're doing your best in a tough situation. Comment 2. I'm curious, have you looked into any community resources that might help ease the financial strain? It's great that your son is willing to chip in, but maybe there are local programs or support groups that could offer assistance. It's heartwarming to hear you're willing to try again. Just make sure to have a clear conversation with the kids about expectations and support. Good luck. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.